folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to Crowd Surfing. Now, you may have noticed that it's been a few weeks since we did a crowd surfing. We normally do them every 2 weeks, but the main reason we delayed was because Kickstarter is kind of a wasteland during December. And so things are picking up, but I still don't have a ton of projects to talk about. But as the year goes by, you're going to see more and more projects coming. This is probably the lowest point of the year, and probably Kickstarter experts would tell you not to launch your Kickstarter at this point in time. Also, we launched our Kickstarter, the Dice Tower Kickstarter. So if you like the Dice Tower and you like our videos, if you like this video, we ask that you consider backing us. Just check out our main page. I'll try to put a link in the description of this video too, where you can just go there and learn more about our project. But anyway, enough about us. Let's talk about other Kickstarter projects that I find interesting. Okay, so first of all, like I said, there's not a lot. The biggest one, probably one of the biggest ones here, is Spirits of the Forest. This is a 1 to 4 player game, 20 minutes. Actually, Sam just did a review of this one because we got a copy of it earlier, so he reviewed it. This is the upgraded, nicer, pretty version. This one is blowing up for such a small game. I think part of this is because Thundercliff has made a big name for themselves already with their games, and we know their production quality is going to be high. I've seen their games. Their games are just gorgeous. And this light little nice game, but again, I'm kind of surprised at how well it's doing, but that's a good thing. Dwarves Winter. Dwarves. I hate when people put numbers in names, but that is what it is. This actually, I have a whole pile of Dwarves stuff. Now, when I originally had the Dwarves game, it was called Dwarves Fall. This is the sequel to that, Dwarves Winter. I don't think the first one had anything to do with fall, actually, like the month of fall. But anyway, when I originally got it, the rules were a shambles. I couldn't even figure out how to play the game. I ran into them at a convention. They said, oh, we fixed the rules. We have everything ready. So I just got all the stuff for Dwarves Fall a few days ago when our Essen Hall showed up finally. So I'll look at that. But this is like a tower defense, resource management. Miniatures are in this game. And so, like I said, they want to make it clear it's a sequel. So Dwarves Winter. Eleanor, the Deserted Valley. This one is kind of interesting to me. They're comparing it to Heroes of Might and Magic. For 2 to 6 players, you can go try it online electronically, I think. There's a book they're selling. There's like a story here. We have these heroes and you're going out. The name's interesting. I don't know if it's based on an IP or something, but it just seems to have this following already. My pick of the week is Christmas Lights. Now, I don't even know if this one's going to fund, but I have a soft spot in my heart for Christmas-themed games. This is a relaunch of their first game. I like the idea of it, of untangling Christmas lights. If you've ever done that, you know, a little card game style. I think the card artwork is nice and stark, so I'm hoping this one funds. Go check it out. Dragon Watcher card game. This is where you have a Dragon Watcher and you are trying to catch dragons, flipping them over. The artwork's beautiful. Although I have to say, like, dragon artwork, you say it's beautiful. Most dragon artwork is to some degree. People just like drawing dragons, but this is probably going to be the main draw to this game. And it sounds like there's a little bit of a push your luck element to it. And then Chronicle X. This is a huge project. A sci-fi retro 1980s project where there's miniatures you're going through. Now, there is a red flag or so on this one. This is from Load. They're the ones who made Archon, or Archon who made Load, I'm sorry. Load is a game that I played, and as far as, you know, feels like a riff on Rum and Bones. Like, there was some accusations that they had straight up copied the rules. It sure looks like it when you play the game. And there's not a lot of good reputation here. However, whether there's good reputation or not, this project is highly succeeding. And doing extremely well. So, again, that's just rumor and hearsay, but there was enough of it around the project that it comes out all the time. I've seen a lot of it. And that's all the projects I have.
What's funding? Just enough time to take a quick look at a game that's seeking funding right now, and today we're taking a look at Western Legends. So here we're taking a look at Western Legends. Now, this is a sandbox game where players will be taking on the roles of various legends such as Billy the Kid, Calamity Jane, Bass Reeves, Doc Holliday, and the such, all in an attempt to gain the most legendary points and be the winner. Players can choose to be outlaws and progress on the wanted track, or they can choose to be marshals and progress on the marshal track. On a player's turn, they're going to take 3 actions, and those actions can be things such as playing a card from their hand, or it could be taking various location actions, or it could even be starting fights with bandits or other players, or even if you're a marshal, potentially trying to arrest the wanted outlaws. Various locations we have on the game are here where we can play poker, and these cards here act as standard poker cards, and you will play a game of poker, and other players in the town can play along with you. You can mine for gold using these mining dice that allow you to get gold nuggets. You can go to the bank, which will allow you to turn in those gold nuggets for money, or if you want to be an outlaw, you can rob the bank. You can go to the general store and buy items such as shotguns and rifles, or even mounts like mules and mustangs, or provisions and whiskey, things like that. You can go to the cabaret and spend a bunch of money, throw a big party, and gain legendary points for doing so. You can go to the doc's office and heal up. Or you can even go here to these cattle ranchers, and you could choose to take cattle and ship them legally, or you could sell them to an opposing cattle rancher, increasing your outlaw status. In addition, we have these story cards here, which when players complete certain things and there are enough cubes, will allow a story to happen and certain events to take place within the game. Fighting within the game is also using these poker cards as well, and we have a sheriff as well who can move around and try to arrest the wanted players. The game is played until a predeterminate amount of legendary points, at which point you will finish out the current round, play one last round, add any bonuses for upgraded items and the such, take away any points for wounds that you may have, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. So that's a rather brief look at Western Legends. Now, when I first heard about this game, honestly, I was completely uninterested because Western-themed games typically are a pass for me. However, I had a chance to sit down with Travis from Colossal Games during the recent Dice Tower cruise, and he gave me an overview of how this game works. By the time he was done, I found myself wanting to take a look at it for this crowd surfing show. Now, what you saw in the video was a print and play copy I did myself, and as such is not exactly what you'll get if you end up backing this game. The final game, as I understand, will have miniatures for the characters and the sheriff and the bandit, and will be of a higher production quality. As to the gameplay itself, this is, as I said, a sandbox game, and I really found that I enjoyed it, but it can be a little overwhelming for players at first because there are so many options. I like how the game allows you to choose to be an outlaw, and you can choose to be a marshal, or you could choose to do neither, and maybe you want to deal with gold mining or dealing with the cattle. So there's so many ways to gain points in this game, but players really do need to be aware of what other players are doing. The players who have decided to take the marshal track do need to be aware of what the outlaws are doing, and the outlaws need to be aware of what the marshals are doing. So I really like that. Another thing that I really like in this game that I am a big fan of is multifunction cards, and I like how the poker cards acted as poker cards, battle cards, and action and reaction and bonus cards, and I really enjoyed that. One thing I didn't show you in the game is it does have an optional variant set for goals, for personal goals that players complete for some additional points as well. Overall, I'm really looking forward to seeing this game in its final form. As of the recording of this video, this has not yet launched on Kickstarter. I believe it comes out around January 9th. I hope this has given you an idea if it's something you want to take a look at, and I look forward to seeing you folks next time.
Okay, well, I'm running my own Kickstarter now. So for the past several Tom Thinks About Kickstarter segments, I've been talking about mostly from a consumer standpoint. But I'd like to talk a little bit, a few episodes, about running it. Now, there are people who are much more experienced than me. I run one a year. I don't actually make board games. I do something different. But I think a lot of my experiences, a lot of things I deal with, are things that other folks are going to deal with in Kickstarter itself. And today I want to talk about the leeches. And the reason this came to mind is because they've already come after me. As of me recording this right now, my Kickstarter has been launched for less than 24 hours. It seems to be going fairly successfully. It looks like we're going to fund. That's a very exciting thing. And from previous years, the same thing always happens. My email box is full of people who are willing to help me. These range from people saying, hey, do you want to get your word about Kickstarter? Well, we can do that. Or do you need help on how to run your Kickstarter? We can help you. But it's mostly about reach. Like, hey, you want more people to hear about your Kickstarter? We'll take you out there and we'll tell more people. Now, For me, this is not very useful, right? Because I'm assuming anybody who watches our show knows about our Kickstarter. Our Kickstarter is not going to go and some random person goes, huh, I should back the Dice Tower. That's not going to happen, right? And that's not even really what I want to happen. If someone backs it to get something in a Dice Tower, they're not getting a good deal. And it's not really what we're looking for. So it doesn't really apply to me. But let's say I had a board game. I'm still not sure it applies to me. Because, in my opinion, at best, these guys are not as competent as they say they are, and at worst, they're simply a scam artist. They're very similar to the people who email me constantly about my YouTube channel. Do you want more people? Do you want another 100,000 views? Then give us some money and we'll get you those 100,000 views. Do you want more people to come click on your channel? Then do this. They come from Facebook and YouTube, and those are almost exclusively scams, right? It's also against YouTube policy and all that jazz. These other guys, and you can tell in the form letters, they're like, I really like your project and what you are doing with your Dice Tower. And it's like, yeah, you don't know the first thing about me. And I would be very wary about accepting help from someone who doesn't know anything about the Dice Tower. Now, maybe they do. Maybe they can write something like, I'm a big board gamer, But if they don't mention anything about board games, then I know they know nothing about me. And all they're going to do is they're going to spam other people about my project. And if you are making a board game project, which is what we're talking about here, then what do you want random people to come and find your game and back it? I mean, I'm sure you do, right? You want your project to succeed, but you're wanting it to get out there people who really are interested in it. See, most people might walk down the street and, I'll see a Kickstarter and like, oh, here's a knife that works by itself, or some weird kitchen utensil. That applies to pretty much everyone. Board games do not. So is this organization that says they're going to get you more views and stuff, are they going to be focused enough that it matters? But secondly, why would you not work with people in the business already? If you want to know more about Kickstarters, then you definitely want to talk with Jamey Stegmaier or watch his videos that he does. We have one in every show here. And when I put the show together, he was the first person I went to because he knows Kickstarter. And there are many people over the internet who are like board games and know Kickstarter, and they can give you tips and tricks and ideas and things that you can use yourself. Take a look at successful board games. Very rarely do we see a successful, I'm saying very rarely, but I don't know that it's ever happened, where a successful board game on Kickstarter and they said, you know what made it success is because we use this advertising agency. And in fact, just recently, a couple weeks ago, on Reddit and Board Game Geek, both of them, big threads back and forth between a company that hired an advertising agency and they were going at each other publicly. Not a very good thing, but there was just problems there and miscommunications, and I'm not sure the amount you pay is worth it. Now, there's paid previews and things that you can do in the board game industry itself, and I think you should go there. But be warned, these promises of we'll double the amount of people coming to your Kickstarter are just that. They're promises. They're the same as you inheriting a fortune from someone from Africa, or, double the size of your portfolio or what have you. There's all these junk emails that come and it's the same thing. And when you run a Kickstarter, I just delete. Now, maybe you've had success with them, and if you did, I'd love to hear about it in the comments, right? But for the most part, I would encourage you not to take if you're running a Kickstarter, to take this easy sounding, I'll get a whole lot of stuff. But a Kickstarter comes from a result of hard work, which I'll talk about next time, and knowledge and learning from people who have already done it and can give you ways and things that you can do to make your project better.
Hi, this is Jamey with Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about review copies and the impact of reviews on Kickstarter campaigns. In my opinion, reviews do two things. One, they expose your game and your project to a larger audience than what you have access to. And two, most importantly, for me personally, reviews, unbiased third-party reviews, help backers decide if the game is something that they will like or not. I would much rather have backers support something that they are pretty sure they're going to like and that they're going to enjoy than get a game that they didn't fully understand and not enjoy it. I want them to get something that they at least think that they will enjoy. There are other ways to do this on the project page, like posting the rules and playthrough videos and things like that. But I think reviews do a really good job of this, especially if people can see their game being played by reviewers they trust. This is a distinguishing factor between previews and reviews. Previews are helpful because they show people what the game is, but I think that element of that opinion is really, really important for helping backers figure out if it is a game that they'll like or not. To find reviewers, I recommend going to James Matthe's website. That's James Mathe, MATHE.com. He has an entry called about reviewers that post a giant list of reviewers and whether or not they do Kickstarter reviews or not. I recommend contacting the reviewers that you select about 2 months in advance. And if you use the strategy that I use, I like to create a few really high quality prototypes and send them to a few reviewers. I usually target three to five reviewers. And there's a limit on that because I don't think people need 24 reviews to get an opinion of a game. They need a few reviews. And B, it's expensive to make a really high quality prototype. The reason I recommend going after a really high quality prototype is not just because it looks nice, it looks nicer than something that you'll put together by hand, but also I found that people have a really hard time not picturing the prototype as separate from the real game. I've said during projects so many times, no, it's just a prototype. Like, this is just a prototype component. People seem to have a really hard time of wrapping their heads around the idea that that the final version will look different than the prototype. So I recommend doing everything you can to make that prototype look as close to the final version as possible. And the way that you can do that is to use places like Print and Play Games, Drive-Thru Cards, and the Game Crafter to make a really high quality prototype. If you're looking for miniatures, I recommend Shapeways. I've had a very good experience with Shapeways. They 3D print miniatures. And Piazza Pro, it's Piasa Pro. They've made custom meeples for us in the past. Our manufacturer, Panda Game Manufacturing, also does this, but if you are not at the point where you're ready to have your manufacturer send you sample meeples, Piazza Pro does a great job with laser cut meeples at any quantity. It's a little bit expensive, but it's worth it for these small batch, nice prototype reviews. So yeah, those are my thoughts on getting review copies. I'd love to hear your thoughts on different strategies that other creators have used for posting unbiased third-party reviews on their project pages as well. Thanks.
And that's it. Another Crowdsurfing show. A little bit shorter than normal, but I'm sure as the weeks go by, we're going to hear more and more about some great stuff that's being started. And I think at some point, we're going to add a segment to this show where we talk about the fulfillment of these. Like, hey, these are the games that came out this week. It's just a little bit harder for me to track when games go out. So like games that were sent out to backers this week, that'd be an interesting thing. I've just got to figure out a way to be able to pull that information somewhere. How do you know which games are being fulfilled this week? Anyhow, until next time, I'm Tom Vasser. You've been watching Crowdsurfing on the Dice Tower.